right into the mic.
In the business.
Here's some science. Here's some mic science for you. So
Sipowitz.
these are what are called dynamic mics. You have them at your local karaoke
I've
bar.
sold it.
They're not good. Do you see how it's moving
so
because my
weird.
face is directly on it? If I talk from here, you can't even hear me.
Yeah, you were saying to put it on our cheek.
Right. So when we're at home and we're using our cardioid mics, everyone taking notes. This is suddenly the cosplay panel.
I can't even look at you. I'm just.
What?
You look absurd. No.
He's so gangster.
Is that better? Is this better or worse?
You look like Fred Durst's stunt double. Just.
Wow. Early 2K's called. Want your hat back.
You got to have faith. Is all I'm trying to say.
This is wild. All right.
I got it right here. We're good. All right. We're ready to get started?
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, actually, we need some. Are we recording? Are we recording?
Did you remember the jokes?
Wait, I did read over the jokes.
We're good to go.
Sometimes I don't. It's fine. Sometimes they're not written.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory and prices and delivery of cards from Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell,
Hey, everybody.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi, thank you all so much for coming out. This is great.
This is awesome. Thank you guys so very much.
This is awesome. We get to do live Magic Mics now. That's like a thing that we do at Vegas, which is great.
Every year.
Yeah.
It's like celebrating our anniversary. We started this 3 years ago from the backyard of an Airbnb for me.
Yeah.
And now we actually have, at least have some microphones.
Well, then we started the
They're
top
not Magic
10s
mics, but-
last year in Vegas. Like
Literally
we had the
last
business
year.
meeting before the live show of, hey, they want us to do a spin-off. And then so a year ago, the top 10s were launched. And so,
Right.
yeah.
So before we get right into the trumpet blast and the first pick, I have one more co-host that I need to bring onto the stage real quick.
Okay.
Last night at the Magic 25 party, there was a big cake, and it had several of the characters from Magic's past on it. And I have a refrigerator, so
Oh, no.
What in the world?
Is
we're
that
going to be joined by
Bolas?
Nicol Bolas in
Okay.
fondant form.
Okay.
Hi, Nickel. How
Hi.
you doing, buddy? That's incredible.
Do they know you took that, or did you just... You stole the bolus.
Well, they
He
know
stole
now.
the bolus. He's a stolus. You stole the... Nickel stolus.
Yeah, he's in Bolas's clutches. He's my permanent now.
Wow.
In Bressler's clutches.
That's right.
It's great.
Well, we also get started with our trumpet blasts. You can get one of you support us at our highest level on Patreon. This week's blast comes from Adrian, who writes, everyone from the Magic Mike's Discord/Patreon group sends their love and hope for a speedy recovery to Wedge from the Mana Source. And that's fantastic. And thank you. And also thanks to Abby, who has been helping him out quite a bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Master of Magics on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been chatting with her a little bit, trying to, because I live here, I'm a local, trying to see if they need anything. As that story develops, we'll have more news for that going forward.
Right. Which pitches into our first pick. This week, it's all about GP Vegas. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's like we're here. And we just touched on Wedge. Of course, check out his GoFundMe if you can. That
Absolutely.
said,
A lot of us have retweeted the GoFundMe. We just recorded a promo for that as well. If you have the means to help, it would be greatly appreciated. Wedge is a pillar of the Magic community and the Magic content community who fills several unique niches and is also just a sweetheart of a human being. So if you can, then if you can provide monetary support so that he can continue to provide magical support to us.
Yeah. Wedge has worked really hard to make Magic more accessible, whether it be on a cost level, like making sure people can afford cards and decks, or whether it may I'm getting there,
Yeah,
or whether
saying.
it be just making more formats more understandable. And I just want to comment that it's also a travesty that we need to even have a GoFundMe for medical care. Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
that's very sad. That said, we got new cards. Last night at the VIP party, we got an all-new Nicol Bolas. It turns out M19 is about the birth of Nicol Bolas and his twin bro, Ugin. And Nicol Bolas the Ravager showed up. It is a Grixis, a red, black, blue, and a generic mana for a 4/4 legendary Elder Dragon. A mythic, of course, from M19. It has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Now, for 7 mana, red, black, blue, and 4 generic mana, you exile it and return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, and you can do that only anytime you can cast a sorcery. And then you turn into Nicol Bolas, the unbelievably, oh my god, this thing is ridiculous.
Right.
Also known as the Arisen. It's a legendary planeswalker, of course. It has 7 loyalty to start, plus 2, draw 2 cards, okay. -3, it deals 10 damage to target creature or planeswalker. -4, target creature or planeswalker card. Put target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your
I'm
control.
listening.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. -12, exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. That's a wonderful phrase.
Yeah. So this planeswalker, this 11 mana planeswalker is really good.
Yeah.
Turns out.
So there's a couple really interesting things about Nicol Bolas. 4/4 for 4 flying, so you get a tower gargoyle that ravenous rats your opponent.
Right.
And so if your opponent is using a 4 mana removal spell, like they use the front half of a cut to ribbons, or they, I don't know,
Settle
maybe
the score.
settle the score, something like that, you're still 2 for 1-ing, which is great. And then obviously if you pay 7 mana at sorcery speed, which means you can respond to it, which is a big deal. And that's probably going to determine a lot of what the removal is if this card becomes relevant. Things like Lightning Strike aren't going to be able to deal with this. Abrade is pretty ubiquitous at this point. Not going to be able to deal with this one either. You're going to need to be able to interact with the 7 mana flip. And obviously the backside is bananas. Like, that's an unreasonable bunch of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just having a 4/4 for 4 that makes you discard, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Is there anything more Magic player and that we have this insanely sweet new Nicol Bolas and this awesome flip card that's brand new, and someone's like, it dies to Chandra?
It's not going to be living in a universe with Chandra that long.
No.
In addition, you can play this on turn 6 with counter magic up, and then flip it on turn 7, which I think is probably the situation that you're doing it the most, where you have negate in your hand when you play your Nicol Bolas. This is also the least used +2 in the history of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can draw 2 cards if your opponent has no creatures and no planeswalkers in play or in their graveyard. At which point, I guess you can use it. Yeah. Sure, why not?
Gosh, if I have to reanimate something and then later draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Snap. Welcome to my world. Just
The Eldest Reborn is one of the few abilities that is able to reanimate other players' planeswalkers, and it is a incredibly powerful ability. That -4 is no joke at all. And so I anticipate Nicol Bolas seeing some amount of testing in the early weeks of the new standard. But we have a lot of powerful cards that have already been spoiled in this core set. So I don't know if a Grixis, I don't know if there's a world where Grixis can squeeze into the metagame that already exists, plus all of these sweet new cards.
Well, you have to remember that we're inching closer to a Ravnica block,
True.
and those tend to be sort of the Christmas land in terms of like mana fixing.
Yes.
So if we're going into a block like that, I don't think Grixis is going to be a big problem to hit.
I mean, I'd hope so. This is one of those cards that, like, it's not necessarily well positioned right now, but it gets better later.
Yeah.
It's like when I previewed Desecration Demon, which was super neat but sucked because Lingering Souls existed.
Yeah.
And then later Lingering Souls didn't exist, and then it was amazing. So it's a card that can grow.
I will say that Nicol Bolas has protection from Glorybringer, which is nice.
Oh.
Because it is a dragon.
It is a dragon.
And so that's relevant in some way.
Right.
But, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we have another brand new Planeswalker. We won't cover the Planeswalker deck version. You know they're bad. We know they're bad. It's fine. But a Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants, because there's some Tyrant going on.
Yeah.
2 white, 2 generic mana for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. +1, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. -2, return target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to your battlefield. Or -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your end step, create 3 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So, Constrictor says, what's up?
Sure.
Constrictor says, sure.
This is sicko with Constrictor, obviously. The +1 reminds me of the first Ajani's minus.
Right.
Which is good.
Well, put it on everything.
It was good on everything. And the plus for Ajani Goldmane was gain 2 life, whereas this -2 is bananas. I mean, in a mono white deck, you get like a devoted Cropmate effect.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of decent 2-drops. There's actually an intro deck 2-drop that I think is it's a 2/2 flyer for white in the intro deck that matches up nicely with this as well.
I do want to talk about, I know you said you don't want to talk about the Planeswalker deck, Planeswalkers, but the Vorthoses are losing their minds over Liliana the Necromancer.
Yeah.
Jay Anelli on Twitter specifically seems to think the Raven Man is Limdol, who's known as the Necromancer. And so when that card came out, he's like, I knew it! And he's like the guy with like the conspiracy and the flyers, and oh yeah, they're losing their minds.
The pins and stuff.
Yeah, they're convinced it's the second coming.
This card's bananas. I think that I think Ajani's better than Nicol Bolas. I mean, ignoring the ultimate, which will win the game by itself, 3 dudes seriously every turn.
Nice.
Obviously had to get that one in there. But it's also mitigated by Goblin Chain Whirler, which is a little unfortunate, but it is every turn, so you're getting that effect every turn. But being at that -2 is no joke, and the +1 is nice to put in between. So my anticipation is going to be like 2-drop, 3-drop, -2, +1, -2 over the next couple turns.
It's interesting that it protects itself by reanimating something, and then later improves that thing that it reanimated, or it improves its defense by pumping up the creatures you already have. So it kind of defends itself in 2 different ways.
Shout out to Victor Minguez. That art is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Another thing that happened at GP Vegas, as we're here, unfortunately, the pairing software yesterday.
It's fortunate that we're here.
Oh, boy.
It's fine.
The other thing was unfortunate.
The other thing, oh yeah, it's great. But yeah, turns out that things went so poorly yesterday that everybody who played in the Modern Grand Prix gets a free Grand Prix entry.
Right. Round 4 pairings are about to go up.
Yeah, I was keeping up with it through the hashtag because I had to work, and it was just, you were able to see like the decay in the mood of like, you know, oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. Oh my God, this is so much fun. And then like almost near rioting of like how bad it was. And you're watching it go down your feed, and it's like, what is happening? And
like there was this announcement where it was like, you know, okay guys, it's been 2 hours, and then they're like, and it's going to take another hour, and everyone kind of died inside.
You had judges like manually pen and paper making pairings, making slips. It was wild.
Yeah, and we've discussed problems like this before, where what is this one? Walter, yeah. Walter is the format instead of were.
Oh yeah.
Because this
Use
is a big enough
software.
tournament.
Right.
What was that? Wizards Launch Tournament Reporter.
Large tournament.
Large tournament reporter, a.k.a. Walter.
I heard the problem
thanks,
was
chat.
Yeah, thank you. Pharmacist Judge, everybody.
Yeah, that's the
from
pharmacist
our chat.
Judge from our chat.
I had heard that the reason why it went haywire is that they had 600 more people than they were expecting, which caused Walter to go haywire, which is weird in a world of like caps and pre-regging and things like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how much credence I give that, but okay.
It was a good response. It's a really good.
Yeah, let's commend them for that response, because it would have been. There are other ways they could have dealt with this that wouldn't have been nearly as satisfactory. You know, I talked about how the mood decayed on Twitter. The mood also picked back up again once that refund came out. They were like, you know, kudos, well done. And so CFB definitely deserves a round of applause for how they handled that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they did a great job. All right, so and last thing here for GP Vegas tomorrow, Ruben.
What?
You got a thing.
Yes.
What's that?
Pretty important thing.
Oh, right. I have this Dungeons and Dragons thing tomorrow. Yeah, if you guys come back here tomorrow from 3 to 6 p.m., I have Board the Weatherlight. From what I can tell, you should get here early because the seats are going to be full.
The hype is real.
So
that's
I'm really
good hype.
excited for it. Wedge was going to be my Slimefoot, but he is no longer going to be my Slimefoot because he is in the hospital. So our replacement is going to be Adam Staborski.
Mr. Stibbs.
Who is Stibbs, of course, and he is the content manager for TCG Player, and everybody knows Stibbs. And of course, the rest of the cast is available online. If you search the hashtag Board the Weatherlight, hashtag GP Vegas, you can find more information on that.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I did it all myself.
Look
at you.
You did. I haven't seen you this passionate about something in a long time. Like, you've really wanted this, and you've
That's
really
a
pushed for
personal-
it, and I'm so happy for you.
I'm a passionate individual,
You're
Aaron.
very
You don't
passionate.
have to call me out like that.
Wow.
I said this passionate. I
Right.
didn't say you had no passion.
Fair.
All right, we're going to move on here to Gather the Townsfolk, where we talk a little bit about some of the new cards from M19. The first one I want to talk about is Infernal Judgment. This is Swords to Eldrazi shares, where, and it's not even that, because it's a 1 black rare instant that exiles target colorless creature, and they don't get they don't gain the life. You gain the life.
Right.
You gain life equal to its power. Like this is honestly, I've heard people say this is playable in Vintage.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
This is a plant for older formats for sure.
This isn't like a shop's killer.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really good card. You know, black historically tends to have a problem with, like, the Tron decks, because really their only answer is, like, discard spells, and maybe they bring in a Fulminator Mage, and maybe you can keep them off Tron, but once a Wormcoil Engine drops, or once, you know, an Indestructible Ulamog drops, the Jund decks are really, they have a really hard time dealing with that, and this is just a really clean, efficient answer to cards like that, especially against things like Affinity, where, you know, you have the Vault Scourges, you have the Masters of Ethereum, you have the Inkmoth Nexuses, things that get so big so fast, and this is just a really clean, efficient answer to them. So I'm excited about this card.
Yeah, and this also makes me appreciate M19 as a set. Core sets allow you to have these really, like, these very scalpel-esque R&D tools where, like, here's a problem, we can solve it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make, like, lore sense or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I remember there was the one, I think the last core set, it might have even been Origins, we had, like, Self-Inflicted Wound,
Yep.
and then we had the weird green one with the mask, and, like, yeah, that's a thing.
It was sweet.
Yeah, having access to this to be able to take care of Wormcoil Engines and Thought-Knot Seers in Modern, and the occasional affinity creature. Obviously, there are some that are, you know, like Vault Scourge is a black creature.
Right.
But there are, and then once you go back to Vintage and you start getting shop stuff, you can
Nice
start...
Blightsteel Colossus, brah.
Nice Blightsteel Colossus is exactly where you want to be with
I'll
this card.
gain 11.
Yeah, exactly.
And the art is fantastic. I want to know who that demon is. Like, it's a demon choking an Eldrazi.
Squish.
Like, come on. Like, oh, and shout out to my friend who plays Mud. She loves this card. So,
Seems pretty terrific.
It's true. Chalice, for one, is still a problem for this
Yeah,
card.
That's still an issue. But moving on here, it seems like more and more as time has gone by, Garrick is just not coming back. There's no return to Garrick.
have you heard the conspiracy theories?
Of what?
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
The Steve Austin music is going to come in the third set of Ravnica. And, oh my God,
John
It's coming in from the top rope.
So sometimes I like to brave, like, the darkest corners of the internet, and there are people who say that, like, Garuk is too manly to bring back, so we're catering to women, and, like, we can't. Yeah, there's a whole thing about it where, like, he's too. Yeah.
He died. I think that was the
I know.
answer. They killed him. Anyway, Vivian Reed showed up just like out of nowhere. A 2-green, 3 generic mana, legendary mythic planeswalker, of course, has 5 starting loyalty, so 5 mana for 5 loyalty. +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. -3, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. That's a lot of things it's going to kill right there. -8, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+2, have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Yet another way to win the game. It's fine.
That ultimate is going to end the game very quickly, just like a Johnny's will.
Yeah.
It's all about that second ability, though.
That second ability is no joke. It kills Nicol Bolas. It kills Glorybringer the turn after it hits you for 4.
I love her flavor text. Like, if you look at the flavor text, she's almost like the Steve Irwin type character. Like, she's been narrating what creatures do on this plane, and I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, she's definitely the Animal Planet in all the other flavor texts. It's been pretty adorable to watch. This card is 5 mana green Karn. It has the card advantage. It goes up to 6 immediately. It protects itself without protecting you, which is what Karn does.
Which is fine.
Which is fine. Like, it protects herself, but if you're already at like 5, then they're just gonna be like, all right, Hazard at you. But destroying an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying is a huge deal. You don't get destroy effects in mono green very often, and being able to protect yourself from Glorybringer, having a
It's the best disenchant ever.
yeah, you have a contingency plan against Search for Azcanta, or, you know, New Horizons, or any of those, Drake Haven, or any of those sort of corner case enchantments and artifacts, and you get to play it in your main deck.
Right. I wish that Gigantosaurus existed when I was a kid.
What's with the pips?
Yeah, man.
Well,
That's
Pip
gotta
Pip
mean
ain't easy.
something.
We've talked about
That
this.
can't
pips-
be coincidental.
The pips are going to be relevant when we go back to Theros in 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, as this thing rotates out and everyone laments.
You'll have 3 months, probably. That's my hunch.
Sure, whatever.
Pippin ain't easy.
It never was.
Yeah,
It's
10/10 for green,
5
green,
mana.
green, green, green.
Green, 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 green.
And it's a dinosaur, so you can give it haste with your Otapec Huntmaster.
I appreciate that we have dinosaurs outside of Ixalan. It wasn't
Sure.
just Ixalan. It was dinosaurs are in Magic. We love dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dinosaurs are great.
Magic has had this problem with iconic green creature types.
Right.
Where we've had this discussion on the show before, where white has angels, blue decided sphinxes was where they wanted to be. There's demons, there's dragons. Green doesn't really have a flying creature archetype, and dinosaurs are no different. But they tried hydras for a while, and
They
it
have
didn't really.
elves, but that's not.
But that's the smaller folk. That's like how there are soldiers in white and merfolk in blue.
Smaller
and
folk.
zombies in black and
Right.
goblins in red. That's where the elves live. But there's no big giant thing, and
Yeah.
dinosaurs are a great way to
That's
pull
a
that
big
off.
giant thing right there.
Absolutely.
It's giganto, in fact.
It is a
Sphinges.
gigantosaurus.
I think the plural is sphinges.
Sphinges.
Peach,
Sphinges.
pears,
Multiple
plums,
sphinxes, yeah.
oranges.
Too southern for that.
Sphinges.
I'm not. Hey, y'all. Sphinge eyes. Demon of Catastrophes is next.
Sure.
2 black, 2 generic mana for a 6/6 flying trampler. You only have to sacrifice a creature as additional cost. That's
This
all.
is fine.
That's all. Did it really need the 25 thing in the corner? Did it really? We're talking about the promo version, not the pack version.
Oh, here we go.
What? It's fine. Look, I would rather it be the 25 is on everything than 5 years ago when they're like, what's the 20th anniversary? We don't have a 20th anniversary. What's right there? I don't know what you're talking
It's true.
about. Like
Branding.
Like they hid from it.
Branding.
They were
Yeah.
afraid.
I mean, this card's great.
Yeah, if you
This
really
is
want
another.
to.
This is another desecration demon. This is 6/6
Yeah.
for 4. That's probably bad right now. That
Sure.
has a lot because there's just so many ways to first of all ignore it, right? Just
Right.
like that. Well, that thing can't block or kill anything, and it's never attacking. So who cares?
I really wish they would just start taking the proxy guy's phone calls because he needs to if you don't follow the proxy guy on Twitter, you need to do that. But he just has such brilliant ideas for how to make the frames look good. And anytime I see something like this and I hear what you have to say about it,
I mean, I like
I'm
this
just like,
one,
why
to be
can't we just
fair.
have the proxy guy do it? Like,
Yeah. So this is the store championship promo.
Right. And that's
but
not necessarily the greatest track record for standard playability.
correct. The GP promo is my favorite. Which does anyone have these Death Barons yet?
I want a Death Baron so bad.
No one in the audience has one. Have you seen one? You have one? Can I see it?
It turns out it looks exactly like the
It's
picture
over
I
there?
have right
All
here in the notes, but
If
it's
anybody
fine.
has one, I want to see it because I haven't seen one yet. This is a brilliant stroke. This is a smart because this is a $20 casual card
Yeah.
that is not going to lose value by having this promo,
Yeah.
which is brilliant.
Well, I mean, it's going to be in the set, as I understand
Well,
it.
that too, but this one in particular is a really great incentive.
Well, I will note it does feel like a lot of M19 is going to be very tribal-based, and I can't tell you exactly why I know all that, but I will say that it does feel like there's a lot of pushing in the tribes in this set more so than other times.
Sure.
I like that. I'm not the strongest sealed player in the world, so when I can build sealed decks that fit into those nice little boxes, I tend to enjoy a set more. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I hope they can ride that line. I think one of the issues with Ixalan was that not every are you the Merfolk deck? Are you the Pirate deck? Are you the Dinosaur deck? Like if you don't get those certain archetypes, you could just have a hodgepodge of kind of hot garbage.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. I'm going to skip over Mentor of the Meek. That said, I appreciate that Mentor of the Meek is coming back. It never really did much to start with, but I thought it was interesting. Meteor Golem, to me, is far more interesting. Meteor Golem is an uncommon. It's 7 mana for a 3/3. Okay. But what it does is it destroys target non-land permanent and opponent controls when it enters the battlefield. That basically gives...
That's awesome.
That's enchantment removal for black. That's enchantment removal for red. That just doesn't really happen.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like a Spine of Ishtar on a body, basically, which you'll take it.
Fair enough. But yeah, and that's just one of the things I wanted to know is very important. And lastly here, I want to mention the return of the Mana War. Wizards has done all they can to not reprint Mana War.
This is Mana War, the human wizard. We're talking about Exclusion Mage. It's literally Mana War.
Yeah.
That's a 2 generic mana and a blue for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. So note that it's an opponent controls. You can't
Not
bounce
your
own
own,
stuff.
sure.
Sometimes people care.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's drama time. We ready to get drama up in here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Nexus of Fate is the buy a box promo, and
we
everyone
go.
lost their mind.
Right.
It's 2 blue and 5 generic mana for an instant mythic rare that you can only get by buying a box. Take an extra turn after this one. If Nexus of Fate will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle into its owner's library instead.
We are pro buy a box promo here.
And here's...
We'll be available after the show to fight if you want.
the fisticuffs.
Physical, actual red zone in the back once we're done on the stage.
Wow.
But yeah, taking turns, Sun Zenith, is pretty sweet. This is if you have like a temple bell and can exile the rest of your deck, this is just infinite turns. I think it's a really cool buy a box promo.
I've seen a surprising number of people discuss this card and say that it has possibility, more so than the other bad time locks we've seen, which is fascinating to me. And I just say I love when people engage you on this topic. And they're like, how do you know? And it's like, he kind of works for a store.
we run 7 stores.
Where you can buy cool stuff in stock every day.
Well, they're just like, what do you mean this is helping friendly game stores? And I'm like, we run 7 of them.
I'm the marketing manager.
I'm telling you. So here's the ultimate. So if you missed my rant on Twitter, here's the thing. First of all, it's okay that this card is good. I mean, and it's not like crap. It's not amazing. It's fine. Maybe it'll see a 1 or 2 of in a deck. Who knows? It probably won't for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But here was the problem that Wizards is solving. Now, they can't necessarily say this, and I understand why, but here was the problem, okay? Everybody and their mama was running to the eBays and the Mass Drops and the Amazons and the online retailers to try to get boxes as cheap as possible, and that's fine. However, it got to be so much, like a ton of product was moving this way, and the Mass Drops of the world don't have gaming spaces. The Mass Drops of the world don't have people to teach you Magic. The Amazons of the world don't give a crap if there's an F&M or not. They don't care. They have a thing for a price. We hope you like it. You can buy it. Okay. This promotion in particular says go to your local game store, give them those dollars that you were going to spend on a box anyway, but you support them. They get that revenue up front, and they sell through those boxes. And it worked like gangbusters, and I was honestly afraid that Wizards was going to pull it. I thought, because there was definitely this.
There was a grassroots campaign that Mark Rosewater posted about on Blog Talk, where he was like, "We organized a good dozen people to not buy boxes. Did you feel that? Did you feel the energy?" And then Mark Rosewater was like, "I mean, no," which is totally cool. And yeah, I think that there's an important lesson here, which, first of all, y'all should be supporting your local game stores regardless, because they are safe spaces for young men, and primarily young men, but also young women, and they're becoming better about that. But they are safe spaces for lonely kids who don't have a lot of friends, all right? I grew up going to local game stores.
I love my local game store.
I play Dredge. I have no friends.
Well, some of us have friends, and those of us that don't made friends at the local game stores.
Absolutely.
So when you can, you should support your local game store, buy your things there, and when they don't have the products, you should order from CoolStuffInc.com, where you can get cool stuff in stock every day.
Right.
But
it's weird. But again, if someone comes at you and they're just like, well, Dominaria was such a great set, and it's like, I know it's a great set. It's not like the boxes aren't going to be...
Fire Song and Sunspeaker didn't ruin Magic.
No, it ruined nothing. It
ruined nothing.
It was the idea that like it's another one of those times where it's like, they stapled like a $10 bill to the box, and they're like, we're so pissed. How dare you? And you're
These $100 bills weren't folded the way we want them to be.
Magic has actual things to be mad about. Don't be mad about this one. Pick your battles.
Again, for me, and if you look at any store owner, they were just like, we pre-sold more boxes than we ever pre-sold. Yeah. Running a friendly game store is hard. Like they barely make any dollars. It's really difficult, and these types of things help them out a lot. Before
we move on, there is going to be a brief question and answer session at the end of our whenever we're doing our show here, so you'll be able to have an opportunity to do it. And Lubufu, one of our mods, is going to be able to run that for you.
Yeah. I'm also going to be giving away one of our exclusive playmats to whoever asks the best question.
There you go.
So don't ask us anything boring like our favorite colors. Like, really make it good.
Nobody asks me what my favorite color is anymore.
What is your favorite color?
It's orange. Not because of your thing.
Wow, I thought I was being flattered there.
I just really like the color, not so much the mister.
Wow.
Do you like eating oranges? Are you?
Not really.
No? Okay.
It's got weird. All right. Moving on here. The GDS 3 happened, and we have a new winner, Ari. Somebody help me with his last name. Is it Nia?
Nia? Ari Nia?
That's
of Goblin Artisans, right?
Yeah.
Pronouncing it right?
Congrats, Ari.
Yeah, congrats to Ari on that. That was not an easy process. I followed that thing, and that was tough.
Boy, howdy, was it.
Yeah.
I got 70 out of 75 right in the questionnaire, which wasn't close to being good enough.
Wow.
You needed to get 73 out of 75.
I would say that's pretty close for what it's worth. I didn't get that high.
I feel like, well, you're stupid.
Wow.
If you want some really good insight into this, Alexis Jansen, who used to work for Wizards, and I think she got her designer slot through
Yes.
one of the previous ones. She's been doing
won
these
the
shows
first
on
one.
Twitch where she's been going through each of the candidates and how they did, and just giving some insight. And it's really useful if you want to know kind of why they came to these conclusions and why they do what they do. Definitely go check out her
You
stream.
want to talk about a guy that put in the work, though. Ari Nia has been running Goblin Artisans for ever. How long has that blog existed? Just for actual ever, right? Like at
been a
least
long
5
time.
years. Long before any of us were even born. Back when the rocks were soft, as Evan likes to
That's
say.
when I was
But he
reading
puts
it.
in the work, and so I'm really excited that someone who has lived and breathed designing Magic cards for so long ended up winning this competition.
That's
All
terrific.
of the finalists were great, and I, just like the previous great designer searches, we're probably going to get 2 or 3 additional out of it. Good job, well done.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited that specifically for Ari, because of how much work he put in
Well-
his past, in his history. I'm talking directly to Mark now because he's here.
Right, because Mark Rosewater is literally right in front of us, and it's awesome that I can be like, I appreciate the work that went into it. I know it was difficult to show the week after week, all the judges, get everything combined together. I mean, that was a monumental task.
I
Yeah.
will say that the one thing I wish that had come out of the Great Designer Search that we can use for future is it was difficult to follow in a coherent order because it was all over the place. There was Reddit, there was Twitter, there was Tumblr. It was sort of disjointed for me to try to follow along in the going down from like 10 to 3 process for me, and 8 to 3, and that. So I would like that to be a little bit more streamlined for me personally because I was, I like the reality show aspect of it. But beyond that, I thought it was fantastic.
It's terrific.
Yeah.
So shout out to our buddy Rico at Cardamajigs
Yeah.
for an
$110,000
For these Cubamajigs things. You guys, did anyone here support the Cubamajigs
Nice.
Kickstarter? All right, we got a
Good
couple in the audience.
Very
Wow.
nice. These were custom cube packs that solved a problem that no one had solved before, which
Right.
was how do I make custom packs that aren't going to damage the cards? The issue was always that the top flap would go in and you could damage your really expensive cube cards. And so he sent me some, and I got to play around with them, and I messed around with those things. I was trying to break it, I was trying to mess it up, and those things are actually really high quality, and I'm excited for everybody to get them in their hands.
Yeah, speaking of Kickstarter, Seb McKinnon just cracked $80,000.
Nice.
The Dirge of Dread playmat has been unlocked, so I'm like, I'm done.
Yep, you're
This is-
in.
I'm in.
I want to tag on to the end of that little topic about something that I was just talking with Rhino about, Young Mage, who Papa Mage is in the audience.
Shout out to
And-
Young Mage.
And you guys were talking about in the creators panel of content creators, which Cubamajigs and Cardamajigs does very well, which is he found a niche that no one had done before. So
Right.
if you're charismatic and good, sure, that helps. But you need to find something unique that the Magic community or whatever community you're involved in doesn't have yet.
Yeah, and you don't even have to really plumb that deep.
No,
when you
there's
hear
a-
that, you're like, how has
No.
no one thought of this before? And
Yeah. The Magic D&D crossover, that's not a hard idea to come up with.
No.
Someone just needed to do it,
Yeah.
right? Cardamajigs, making a box that doesn't damage expensive cards that's this big instead of this big, that's not rocket science.
No.
Someone just needed to do it. And so if you can put in the work, then you too can have a $110,000
Yeah.
Kickstarter.
Cardamajigs, I love him, but his website is dangerous. I always go for tokens, and I always start off I'm just gonna get 1 or 2. I'm just gonna look around, and then I leave with $50 in zombies and spirits and saprolings. I don't even have a saproling deck. And
His website is a lot like the Sephora website.
Yeah.
Where you just sort of... You feel me? Yeah, right? Where you have you're browsing on there for 30 minutes. Evan doesn't know what we're talking
I
about.
have
Kate-
no idea
Kate
what
is-
you're saying right now.
Kate is
I-
5 days into her boycott of Kat Von D. She's all about makeup, so.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, ask someone who looks like they know what they're talking about. All right.
Wow. All right, now it's more drama time. I'm really excited.
Yes.
Right.
All right, moving on, Desperate Ravens. The Spanish story, the Spanish translation of the Magic story has been discontinued.
Poor Kay.
Wow.
Wow.
I am...
All the Spanish I, know
took
is from
6
Dora the
years of
Explorer.
Spanish. I can
Let me
hang.
explain this. All right. However, As for our friend Carrie at Vronos on Twitter notes, Wizards Magic is ending Spanish translation support for Magic Story and retweeting fans saying they are willing to translate for free. Despicable grab at unpaid fan labor. Now, this I felt was tangentially related to something that came out of E3, which was Beyond Good and Evil 2 is coming out, and it looks super cool. Don't get me wrong. But one of the things they did was they brought out Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he was like, I'm doing this thing called Hit Record, and it's like spec work for free. Isn't spec work for free great? Where essentially you have to completely develop music and images and show them, and hopefully you can get part of the $50,000 divided among all of those who contribute art or music.
Nope, not interested.
I mean, that's the salary
This
of
ain't
essentially
HQ
one artist.
trivia. I'm not splitting $50,000 so that I got my $10.50 at the end of the week. I'm not. That's not how this works.
And they may not even want it.
No.
That to me is insane.
Yeah, I just want to bring up a different angle to the Spanish thing. Some people may not realize this, but Spanish is the #1 most spoken non-English language in North America. So not only does this affect our friends in different countries, there's a huge demographic here that's going to be left out of these stories too. And I just don't understand that. Like,
especially
why?
in Las Vegas. Like,
yeah.
Which translates to the Springs in Spanish.
Is it
So
Vegas or
there
Vegas?
used to be springs here, and then we dried up all the water.
Vegas or Vegas?
Vegas.
Vegas.
Nevada. Dominaria. Nevada. Don't
egg
get your
roll. Egg roll.
Egg rolls are great too.
I like egg rolls. I mean,
I love when Maria lets her
this is really
Minnesota just hang
unfortunate.
out.
I don't like this. This feels not great. This feels like kind of got some gunk on it.
I understand from a business perspective that it costs money to make Spanish translations. I understand that.
And it's entirely possible that Wizards didn't see the eventuality of other people volunteering to do it for free and then this optic problem happening.
Right.
But it did, and now it's an optic problem.
It's just one of those like, well, we're not doing it anymore, but if you want to do it for nothing, we'll take advantage of it. It just came off a little bad, as it were. But the Beyond Good and Evil 2 thing, I think, is just light years worse. It's just really weird. Please do a whole bunch of work. Maybe we'll pay you for it. Maybe we'll get something out of it. Good luck. That's weird. All right, so I'm gonna skip over.
Speaking of weird,
I'm gonna skip over this next thing because it's about
That's
PT qualifications and whatever. It's weird because I get to rant more.
oh, good, right.
Oh my God, this global series thing. I can't handle the global series thing. I can't. Stock game. I can't because Wizards is doing this thing where they literally start the article explaining it. They start the article explaining it, saying that Magic is a global game. So if Magic is a global game and they make parts for the game that you can play all over the world, wouldn't you think you could play with them everywhere? Let's move on here. How they mentioned this is from the quote. This product would be much harder to get outside of China, and outside of China, we didn't expect people to learn using this product, so we need to come up with a solution. After much discussion, we settled on something unusual. These cards will be legal for standard play in mainland China events. Thanks for making it political. Secondly, they will be legal in Vintage and Legacy everywhere. Why? They will never be modern legal because once they rotate out of standard, the reason they were standard legal no longer applies. That doesn't make any sense. Oh my God. Even though technically the standard card pools between China and elsewhere will be different, it should be nearly unnoticeable at the competitive level. So why are you doing this? There's no good answer. It makes no sense. If you could just say they're standard legal, no one cares. We wouldn't have batted an eye. Like, whatever. They literally explain how they're not going to make the cards good. So what's the problem? I can't.
I blacked
I
out.
can't.
Did
It hurts
anybody
me.
catch any of that? It is very strange. It does not irk me to the degree that it irks you. But
It irks me because what's the good out of this? Where are we going?
China
Why
is
are
where
we
we're going.
doing this? I
Where
don't
we're going,
understand.
we don't need
China,
Americans.
Who are
China.
you hurting with this?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
It is pretty weird.
It just doesn't make any sense.
We did get our very first vanilla 3-1 in red for a colorless and a red, which is
Right.
nice. Blade of the Sixth Pride represent.
Right.
But,
Blade of the Red Pride, and that's
but
cool.
that's about it.
Can we talk about something in particular that disturbed me? Is there's a dog that eats the moon.
Yeah.
And in the flavor text, they talk about how you have to like beat the dog to like get the moon back, and I'm just like, I didn't need to see that. Like, oh yeah, it's weird. It's wild.
That's some Grimm's fairy tales
It's got weird.
garbage. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that. with dog beatings and stuff, but I'm just saying, I want to. They've never, and I get it, and like it's come from on high. You can't talk about it. That still doesn't mean I'm not going to be like, this makes absolutely no sense, and I feel bad that you put players through this because it's ridiculous.
Are we skipping the Pro Tour part?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's like a mind trap puzzle.
Oh my God! I mean, real quickly, the PT qualifications. If you're singularly qualified for the Pro Tour, the Team Pro Tour, you must team with 2 other people who are also qualified. Now, the regional qualifiers, it just needs 1 person for the whole team to play in it. For the actual Pro Tour, there's only 114 people on this planet Earth who are qualified but aren't part of a team.
So
Yeah, and
you
they're
really
going to have to
sell
find
it.
themselves like some sort of worldwide escape room puzzle.
But here's the actual statements. I kind of want to sell you on how complicated this is. Let me know if any of you can understand this. Okay. If you are singularly qualified for the Team Pro Tour, you must team with 2 others who are also solo qualified. There are only 114 people from all over the world, including a handful of Hall of Famers who don't play anymore. I'm already lost.
Yeah.
I don't know what this means.
This is thanks to our buddy AJ Soccer, another Vegas local, who put this out there. Yeah, this is just bizarre and is going to be a real feel bad for people who have to go on a scavenger hunt for teammates for this Pro Tour rather than testing for the Pro Tour or doing anything else that they'd rather be doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a weirdo, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the Team Pro Tour in terms of qualification. We talked about the regional PTQs and stuff like that already. This is just another weird one, and I'm pleased that Wizards of the Coast brought back team events, and I'm pleased that people enjoyed them. And we are close to team event saturated at this point.
I was going to say, we've got a lot of team events these days.
It's like a bit much now.
It's one of those, like, you like that? All right, have more of it.
So this is something that I actually feel like you don't need a Star Wars movie every 5 months. You need a Star Wars movie once a year, right? I'm not sure you need a GP Vegas every year. I think that every 2 years is fine, right?
Okay.
I think that
I think we need 1 master set a year.
That too.
And you better
that's
make
another
it
one.
awesome.
People get tired.
This diluted
People love
crap.
stuff, but they only have so much time, energy, and money. And the team event thing got oversaturated too quickly.
The Magic story has also been controversial, I guess is a way to put it.
Sure.
After it was explained that as the Magic story moves on from block to block, they're going to have different authors from block to block, and they're going to be able to have essentially creative license to do things with the characters that may be out of that character that you've known so far. Whereas, for example, Ixalan, Jace has feels, Dominaria, Jace flips you off. And it's fine. He's weird like that. But, and they were saying, really weird examples, like if Jace lost a toe, he can get his toe back in the next story. And I'm like, what happened to the toe? Why we got to reconstruct the toe?
Yeah.
That's weird to me. This is the Justice League.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's there are some people who feel very passionate about it, and they crave continuity, which they feel like they didn't really get until recent sets. Shout out to Alison Lures. She really was instrumental in making that happen, and now it seems like we're going backwards where, people have wanted continuity for so long, we've been given a taste of it, and now it's being taken away.
I mean, the professor came out pretty strongly against their setup. I would note that for what it's worth, the first story for M19 was actually pretty sweet. I thought it was pretty cool.
I couldn't make sense of what was going on. Maybe it was the timey-wiminess of it, but I wasn't clear as to a lot of things.
Dragons being born and stuff.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I'm trying to find the author of the new story in my Twitter timeline.
Mary something?
What's her name?
I got
Anybody?
nothing.
Remember?
Okay.
You guys set
She
that
seems
up.
like a delight. I saw her on the first the Magic television program. She's just adorable.
Yeah.
And she chats like we do, so I totally feel that. And
Well,
she's
that's
also she also loves her dog because I followed her on Twitter. So she seems, and this is nothing against any of the Magic authors, not against Martha Wells, not against whoever, I forget the new woman's name, I apologize. This is not their doing. They're very talented writers who've won awards. This is a systemic problem of this, and I think that the professor, his tweet had 600 favorites and 50 retweets, so he hit a nerve of some kind.
Yeah, basically he said that they can't get invested in Magic story anymore if every different writer can rewrite characters, rewrite history, ignore what's happened, and have the same done to them. I've seen some pushback from those in Magic Creative to be like, we've retconned like a million things, right?
They did a retcon in that story. Didn't they say that Ugin was from Dominaria, which wasn't...
Well, they were like, Tarkir is his home, but Dominaria is where he was born.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Kate Elliott.
all right.
Kate Elliott is the new author.
Kate Elliott, yes. All right, so we're going to keep moving here. Going infinite. When is Magic too expensive? First of all, there was a really interesting article recently talking about Bitcoin / digital currency and how people are taking digital currency and turning it into collectibles like Magic cards, and that's why the prices are exploding. Arthur Halavai, who I believe is actually here judging.
Halavis?
Is it Halavis?
Halavis.
I'm
Arthur
all right.
Halavas, yeah.
Southern. Halavai.
Hey, y'all. Unintended consequences of $1,000 dual lands. At mid-afternoon, he quotes a news story here. At mid-afternoon on a Tuesday, June 5th, someone with over $200,000 in classic cards, this would be Beta, Power 9, Onslaught stuff, and so on, was kidnapped.
Wow.
He's safe and home now, but was kidnapped and his cards were stolen. And that's weird reality.
Six digits is a lot of digits. People have been murder robbed for less.
Brian DeMars, he was playing Vintage at SCG-Con, and he showed up with shops, and even he was like, I'm really uncomfortable having a shop stack on me right now. Like, yeah, it's real.
It's a dangerous world out there.
And you're carrying around $15,000-something in cards?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's a lot.
There was also the recent Twitter thread of that dual lands are worth more per square foot than actual land in, like, New York apartments, and they were comparing. They were comparing the square footage of a volcanic island to a real life island that has a volcano on it that you could buy in the South Pacific. It was maybe the best Reddit thread I've ever seen based on Magic Finance.
Yeah, my friend Kate and I, before we started the show, we were going around to all the buy lists and just like, wow, like that. Yeah,
it has just been absolutely exploding. And
I will say
crazy.
that Vegas is really the Vegas event and the sort of event, the convention style atmosphere events are where you want to unload your like random legends, because this is where the collectors are. You can't really sell your Hazazon Tamar to your local game store, but you can sell them to the 20 vendors that are here. And so that's really, I really like that about these big convention style events. Little MTG Finance tip for you.
All right, Mr. Labufu, you could help us gather some questions. Needs to get himself a microphone and whatnot.
We also have tokens. If anybody doesn't have our Monarch tokens or our tokens,
absolutely,
come and get those too.
So we'll be giving away a couple. How many questions you want to take?
I don't know.
We got time. Apparently, we don't have a hard out. So if you guys want to stick around, we can take some questions, and Lubufu will do whatever. And Aaron's going to give a playmat to whoever has the best hair. And we all have our... Oh, dear. Nicol Bolas needs to stay where he is. We also have our
metal tokens.
Metal tokens.
People have asked for.
So if you guys want a copy of our metal tokens, we'll be giving those out. Right here in the front.
Awesome.
Yep, right up to the mic.
So we're ready for a question?
Yeah.
Awesome. How's it going?
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
I have a question. So a lot of Magic IP or new IP tends to pull from like historic culture or pop culture, like Theros pulled from Greek mythology and things like that. What culture or piece of history do you think you guys would like to see him explore in the future to make a set?
I want to go back to Kamigawa.
Yes.
Can we go back to Kamigawa, please, and do it right and not have 37 mana legends that do nothing? I promise they can pull it off. I feel like they can pull it off. That's a thing.
Sorry, you first.
No, I was just going to make fun of Evan.
I would really like a Viking-related set. I played World of Warcraft when we went to Northrend, and we got a taste of all of that with the Valkyr and things like that. And I think there's a lot of interesting... tropes and things you could do there, and I'd really like to see that.
So here's my pitch. Ready? Battle Bond just came out. That was the sort of arena combat, like, fun. The twist for the next Battle Bond is that it turns out all the matches are fixed, and we get our first pro wrestling expansion.
It was... Because remember, they were like, no one actually gets hurt, right? And you're like, That's weird.
There's a surprising overlap between like my Twitter feed. Like my Twitter feed
and
lights
wrestling?
up
Yeah.
when wrestling comes on. People who don't even like, you wouldn't think, like I have like my makeup girls that I follow. Oh, they're in. Like it's amazing how wrestling has sort of crossed those boundaries of everybody loves it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually recently began to think a little bit differently about wrestling and RPGs, D&D, in that if you think of it as just as a storytelling narrative device and not so much as this is real or
Right.
whatever, or I have to win at Dungeons & Dragons versus being involved in a really
Yeah.
interesting story, that made me at least look at those things very interesting in a different way. Cool. Thanks for your question.
Hi. I was wondering, how do you guys balance your work life, personal lives? Like you have like 500 children, right? And then like working and everything, and still doing 2 podcasts a week.
I don't have a personal life. Is the short answer. I worked Thursday night. I went to work. I live in Vegas, and I'm a poker dealer at the Wynn, and I left spell slinging and went to work. I'm very busy with that especially during the summer when there's this event in town and the World Series of Poker is happening and I'm dealing. It is tough because we put a lot of energy in behind the scenes. For those of you that are Patreon subscribers, you've seen the pre-show, which is some of the work, and then we all do individual research throughout the week. For those of you that are on the Discord, you know that we're constantly in communication with everybody as well. It is a bit of a balance issue. Luckily for me, that's just how I kind of operate. Like my brain can't function unless there's 5 things happening. And so doing the podcast is honestly a little bit difficult for me because I get distracted. I have to put energy into focusing only on this, especially when I'm on Skype and there's probably something in the corner of my eye that's distracting. But I think that you need to be wired in a very specific way in order to be able, and you also need to have the support structure of a good a good mix of people. Like if this didn't work, we would have just stopped doing it if it stopped being fun. So but if it's by yourself too, you do need the healthy mix. And I try to get out of the house as much as I can. But yeah, you're right, it's tough.
I think for me, it's been a matter of establishing very clear boundaries of, just saying that, like, these are the 2 days that are about this. Like, it's Monday and Wednesday. Sunday evening right before bed is usually when I get my top 10 list figured out. But I don't do Magic Mike's related things Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I just very clearly say I'm not doing that. And by containing it into those 2 days, it feels a lot much more manageable. And I make sure that those other 5 days I'm having fun. I'm working on my day job. I'm with my boyfriend if I have one. I'm just making sure that it doesn't bleed over. Because it is very easy for this to take over, where I could be on our Reddit page every day. I could be on our Facebook. I could be building our new website. We very easily could be spending 7 days a week on this. But for me, saying no, and even promoting the show, people see us and they're like, come on our show. And it's like, I got my 2 days. My other 5 days are not about that. And so just saying no and really establishing those boundaries and maintaining them has been really important.
Yeah, I've actually been working on trying to devote a little less time, mainly because #5kids, but mainly because, like for me, it's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and even in the late Wednesday night, it's just mono Magic Mice.
Yeah, because he does more work than he does all the editing,
Right,
all the setup. Yeah.
Monday is the recording of the top 10, Tuesday is the editing of the top 10, Wednesday is the live show. And so between that, like essentially half my week is just like, it's Magic Mike's, and that's cool. And we try to make it as good as we can be, but someone recently reached out and was like, "Hey, I could do some freelance work," and I'm like, "Yes, please." Yeah. I could use some editing work just to help to try to create those types of boundaries.
We're getting to the point where we're going to have some.
We've already had conversations about that. Of like, we've reached the point.
We reached the point a while ago, and we just haven't done it yet. So.
I mean, I struggle with like getting gift certificates to people and stuff. And
right.
I hate that that's like a weird thing that you struggle with. It doesn't make any sense on the outside,
We've gotten better since you've delegated it to me. Like, I've been good about it.
And I appreciate that. And all that stuff helps. And thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Lauren. You guys may or may not know me as Lady Atarka.
Atarka!
So my question is, for me, the single card that got me hooked into Magic is Atarka World Render. What card for you guys made you realize, crap, I am addicted and I'm about to spend thousands of dollars on this game?
when I was 13, I played like relatively cheap decks. And, you know, I was saving up my allowance to buy Magic cards, and I was like, I can build decent stuff for relatively cheap. The first card that I ever bought that cost more than $10, I bought a playset of Rishodon ports for $15 a piece. $60 for a 13-year-old for lands that don't even tap for colored mana. I was like, oh boy, well, this is a thing now. And I think that was the moment for me.
I can't say there was a really single card. I just the general feeling of cracking a pack was pretty intoxicating as a kid, and just seeing the fantasy world. You know, I started playing right when Ice Age came out, so I'd never seen, you know, cards like Shivan Dragon, Jester's Cap. You know, I just had never seen a world like that before. So I was hooked just from the general scene of the game. But if I had to say a card that like maybe like changed my life or like really made me dig my heels into Magic, I would probably say Living End. Because that was my first taste of like broken stuff, where like I'd been a good girl and played pretty fair, but once I had a taste of like all the ridiculous things you can do, it was like, oh yeah, like I was hooked.
Oh man, I mean, I guess there's two cards. One of them would have been Blinking Spirit, because that was the first card I ever saw, and they explained to me that it can't die, and I was like, no.
Yep.
What are you saying? I don't get it. What do you mean it can't die? And I'm like, it can't die. And I'm like, and that freaked me out. And then Savannah Lines, because again, at the time, I thought it was an incredible image. It was super cool. It was more powerful than the other cards that were out there these days. And I got my playset of Savannah Lines first thing, and I was just absolutely hooked. It was fantastic. Thank you for the question.
All right, hi, my name is Mike. First,
Hi.
I want to say I really enjoy your content, and
You hold it close to your mouth. I can't hear you.
I wanted to say first, I really enjoy your content, and it's great to meet you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question for you is, if you guys could exile a card from the existence of Magic, which card would it be?
Mental
What are you
misstep.
looking at me for?
I'm looking.
Mental misstep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that card ruined multiple formats multiple
What did
times.
you say?
Mental misstep.
I actually think it should be unbanned in certain formats, but
I'm waiting for Aaron to say rest in peace. Go ahead. Go on.
yeah, probably rest in peace. Like, I mean, Leyline of the Void I can deal with, Deathrite I can deal with, but it's just, it didn't need to happen. It's just, even Cube April backs me up on this. She said it's bad design. Yeah, bad design. Rest in peace. Out.
I mean, if I guess I had to go back and do any one thing, probably Arcbound Ravager. If that card never existed,
Thank you.
largely the Affinity deck would have been good but not busted. And it broke things in half, and it really screwed over the player base, and they lost a ton of players, and everybody was super upset. And it just did nothing good to the game.
Do you know how many bridges I've lost because of that card? Do you
And
know
I
how
knew I'd
many
have Aaron's
living
support.
ends have backfired because of that card?
Wow. It's a good card. It's too good. It's the problem. Thank you.
We haven't seen one of these since Snapcaster Mage, but if you guys could make a combined Magic Mike's invitational card,
Yeah,
what would it be?
we've had this conversation. So
yeah.
it's either a 3-color planeswalker, but I think a saga is better.
Osaka?
A saga. So I'll be chapter 1.
Oh, yeah. Didn't we get a
Oh,
listener?
Saga. I'm
a
sorry.
saga.
We get a listener make a saga for us,
Yeah.
and it was brilliant. It
So
was like,
my chapter 1 is bolt something,
Then 3 dudes seriously.
and then 3 dudes seriously, and Aaron reanimates something.
Yep.
yeah, I don't remember what mine.
in
It was
some
great,
sort of
though.
order like
yeah.
that. And it would probably be Mardu plus 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks for your question.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
Howdy.
Hey, y'all.
What's up?
Well, so, Aaron, thanks for making it out this weekend. I know you're pretty busy, so I'm going to hang with these two. So, since we're here at Grand Prix Vegas, we're looking at the past and future of Magic. I haven't, it's been a couple years since I've been listening to the podcast, but how did you guys, like, get started and, like, find each other to get the podcast going? And then if there's any other future things that you can talk about that are cool coming up for Magic Mics, as well.
I actually love to tell this story. Can I tell this story?
Sure.
So I got a phone call on Google Hangout at like 11 o'clock at night one night, which I assumed to mean I was in trouble. I was like, what did I say? What did I do? Don't sue me. I don't have anything. And it's a call from Evan Irwin. I didn't know the call was happening. And I'm in my pajamas. My contacts are out. And I groggily answer the call. And it's these two smiling at me. And they're like, hi, we want to do a show with you. And I'm just like, huh? Like, what? Like, and they're like, we have this thing. We really want to try something new. And then I remember sitting on it for a while. I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. And then you spent a good, 2 months getting the graphics together because you're a perfectionist, and we appreciate that. And then we went live, and I remember even then you were like, it was like a 3-month trial of let's see how it goes. And I remember after the 3 months, I don't look at numbers or anything. And so I was like, did we do good? Do I still have a job? And you were like, yeah, let's keep going. And then it just kind of started. But I'll just never forget that random phone call in the middle of the night, and you two just like, hi. And
Before that even happened, I like telling this story because it's funny.
Oh, God.
Evan, spoiler alert, fired me one time. And so we weren't on speaking terms for a while. And then Evan emails me and is like, hey, do you want to do a podcast with me? And I said no. And then a week later, I was like, all right, we can give it a shot. This actually seems interesting, right? We're no longer working at Star City. We're not invested in that anymore. I'm doing my own thing. You're doing your own thing. We'll give it a shot. And then it turned out great because we were actually friends in real life outside of that whole, work awkwardness. But I initially said no. But I'm so glad that this ended up happening because it's been one of the best things to happen for me in the last 3 years.
It's been my job to drag Ruben into the spotlight.
That's right.
Just get him in here. He's too funny. He's too interesting. Aaron has such a unique take on things. If you saw the creator panel, I talked about it a little bit. And again, for me, I doing the magic show by myself, all by my lonesome, week in, week out, got to be just so stressful, and I was very upset that it wasn't up to my standard of quality. For example, it took 2 months to get this show off the ground because I wanted to get the graphic design right. I don't get the branding stuff. I want to get all the scenes. We want to talk about all those different sections and how it was going to work. Ruben, writing a joke and stuff like that. All those things had to be worked out because I didn't want to create a product that was just kind of meh.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be good, and I wanted to work with people who I was positive knew could bring something really unique and cool to the podcast, or video cast, as it were.
Yeah,
Because
and
back in those days, that wasn't really much of a thing either.
Right. We're still kind of the only. I mean, it's picked up a little bit in popularity, but we were really the first that did what we're doing. And yeah, I'm super ecstatic that it ended up working out and that folks decided that they like us. Another thing I really like about the show is that we are so different. And one of the most common things I'll get either in Facebook messages or Twitter messages or something like that is I listen to the show every week. I like 2 of you. One of you I could do without, but 2 of you are great. And it's a clean split between the 3 of us. It's awesome. I like Evan and Ruben, but I could do without Aaron, right? Or I think Aaron and Ruben are good, but Evan's a little lackluster. And I'll still have people tell me personally, I love the show. You're a bit much, but I put up with you because I think the show is good, which is great. That's like an old vaudeville line of you don't like what's on stage? Well, guess what? It's going to change in 5 minutes. You'll probably like that instead.
I kind of want to talk about the dynamic real quick if I can. It's so funny because when Evan first pitched us the show, I was brought on to be the middleman. Evan was like, Ruben and I are going to disagree on everything. We're really going to need you to bring it in and keep the conversation going and bring us apart and be the referee. And through the evolution of the show, Ruben and I kind of turned into the siblings, and Evan turned into the dad. And Ruben and I end up disagreeing lovingly, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But it's just interesting how I was initially brought on to be Ruben and I are going to be fighting all the time. And I was like, all right, Evan, I got you. I'll be your referee. And now cut to Evan being in the middle and having to physically keep Ruben and I apart,
I slid into the dad role. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, hashtag 7 kids.
Wow. All right. So that said, let's
Thank you for all your questions.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Do we want to give stuff away, or do we want to do that?
Let's take one final question, then we'll turn the corner to the finisher.
Great. Then we'll pass out some of these.
What does your shirt say? What? You're a hugger? I'm going to want a hug.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So, Evan, especially when you were doing the magic show. especially when you were doing the Magic show and then definitely transferred into this podcast, you always said one of your most interesting things about Magic was the community that it created, the culture that it created, and that's what you wanted to explore. So for all three of you, what has been, as you've grown in this community and this culture, the most surprising thing you've found? Like, be it something, Aaron, that you found now that you work for Card Hoarder and learning more about kind of the ins and outs of Magic Online, or just any part of the culture that you're like, I never thought we would have this in this game.
I guess, for me, it started was I love Magic. What Magic's get done for me, the things that it can provide you in terms of like self-esteem and community and friends and all that good stuff, and that no one ever really showed that, and that was weird to me, and I don't know why that was happening. Over time, I guess it's really odd these days to have so many outlets, and that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's the Professor, and then there's Wedge, and there's also like Rudy's over there somewhere, like making people go nuts, which is really strange, and that's cool to be like. That's just a weird, unique spin that you just. I wouldn't have seen that coming 10 years ago. We'd have somebody who literally all they do is try to sort of talk about some of the financial aspects of stuff, and the different forms of entertainment. We have podcasts, we have videos, we have coverage. Man, you know how bad coverage was back in the day? It was horrific. It was bad. And so now we're so spoiled with all these super sweet coverage, top 8s and then top 8 drafts and all that stuff. We have grown a lot in terms of putting a focus on Magic and been able to really highlight all the different ways that Magic's great, like the command zone and game nights and stuff like that. I mean, that's a really high quality, polished product that Wizards just wasn't making, and that someone from the community took upon themselves to do.
I think the most surprising thing for me I've done Magic content for 11 years at this point, and I've been playing since I was 12 years old. The most surprising thing to me is the game is growing in size, but the turnover rate of players is unbelievable. Like, most Magic players have been playing Magic for less time, 3 years, than our show has been on the air. Wow. It feels like we started this show very recently.
Yeah.
Right? So there's this insane mix of people who've started in the last year or two, and then people who've been in it for 20 years. It's crazy. And the thing about it is that the length of time you've been in the game has no bearing on anything else. You can be the best player in the world and have learned the game a year ago. You can have learned the game 20 years ago and be pretty garbage, like me. So that's one of the more surprising things to me, and particularly in content. You see lots of upstarts, but the number of people who've been in it for a super long time is actually not that big. That was always surprising to me.
I think the most surprising thing for me has been finding communities that don't fit into the little boxes. Specifically, people tend to think of Magic as being like F&M, GP's standard, but there's Commander. There are a lot of ways to enjoy Magic that don't involve having a DCI number, or that don't involve having match slips. I've been really fortunate to be a part of the vintage community. One of the most fun events I've ever went to was I went to the Team Serious Invitational in December, which was literally a house party with a vintage tournament wrapped inside of it. And I met the most lovable bunch of degenerates I've ever met. And there's an old school is starting to, and it's almost like lifting up a rock and seeing like the bug community, and maybe that's a bad metaphor, but just these are communities that don't often get talked about.
It's called Sultai now.
Yeah. But people tend to think of Magic as simply sanctioned Magic, as being these visible things that you have to play. You have to play standard. You have to play modern. There's so many ways to play Magic. That can be a command tower. It can be Battle Bond. It can be Two-Headed Giant. It can be old school. It can be Eternal. And I've really enjoyed being led into those communities that don't often get talked about, but that are so passionate and so tight. And I really enjoy that.
All right, so let's give away some stuff.
Yeah.
I would like to give away my medal token to the individual who let me talk about Kamigawa. You, sir. Any reason to talk about Kamigawa is a good reason.
The young man who asked about
Thank you so much.
how we balance things, I want to give you my medal token. So if you want to come up here.
Awesome.
So.
What do you think, audience? Who had the best question that hasn't gotten a token yet?
And who should get the playmat?
Any votes?
So.
No votes?
Playmat.
I'm going to give my playmat to the young man with the eye and the triangle. You with the beard, the
that's
glorious
the Deathly
beard.
Hallows, Aaron.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Deathly Hallows.
God, get it right.
Is that
Have
a Harry
some
Potter
respect.
shirt? I'm so sorry.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tag yourself. I'm the invisibility cloak. All right. Oh, hey, look. Is this a giveaway?
What are
is
we doing
this?
with that?
I don't know what we're doing with this.
What are we doing with that?
Whatever we want. What do we want to do?
Oh my goodness.
What are we doing with the box
Come
of Dominaria?
see us and we'll give you a pack after the show. I'm giving this to the hugger.
Get your foil
the hugger,
token.
the hugger, it's a metal token.
Gets my metal token, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead with a way to give away this box, okay? And I think
Are we giving away the box?
We're
or are we
giving away a box of Dominaria.
I want to give away a box of Dominaria, first of all, because it's just simpler. Second of all, I don't want anyone to miss out. So let's just do this. How many episodes of Magic Mike's have we made, including this one? First person to get it right. He has a magic show plan, which, by the way, thank you.
Old school.
Thank you.
I think it's got moths at this point. Yeah, how many episodes of Magic Mike's have there been, including this one?
For a box of Dominaria.
50? 45. 450.
450?
We're going to need Mr. Lubufu. Can you help us with this one? As in, like, bring the microphone to people to let them guess because we can't hear them. Who's got a guess? Raise your hand.
We've been on air for 3 years.
3 years, guys. Is the mic on?
184.
Is the mic on?
It might be.
184 is incorrect.
140.
That's close.
For a box of Dominaria.
Up here up front.
Who's got it?
You're close. A little lower than that.
164. So we got a range now. One what?
That mic just doesn't seem to be working.
136 was the guess.
A little higher.
A little higher. Higher than
150.
136.
150.
149 is very close. A little bit lower.
We're going to start bidding a 150.
Too high.
150, 152. All right. 151.
A little bit lower.
146.
Very close. Very, very
Go
close.
Rhino. 150.
A little bit lower.
148.
Got it. 145. This is our 145th episode of Magic Mike's. Congratulations, sir. Enjoy your box of Dominaria. Thank you. You as well. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lubufu, for
Thank you,
Give him a hand for
Lubufu.
helping moderate. Thank you very
live
much.
moderator in addition to Twitch moderator. So he's got the sword in real life and online.
That's right, because you know what happens now? We have to turn the corner to the finisher. Grand Prix Las Vegas is the must-see Magic event of the year with 2 back-to-back main events, live panels like the one you just saw, exclusive preview card events, and nearly functional Wizards event reporter software.
Nearly.
Nearly. But it can always be improved. So what would you like to see at the next Grand Prix Las Vegas, Ruben?
Well, Vegas, my hometown where I ply my trade as a poker dealer, is known for having a bit of gamble to it. So I'm looking forward to GP Vegas 2019's main event, where the format will be Magic's most random format, MTG Finance.
Oh.
Wow. Very good, very good. Aaron?
Well, my favorite thing to see in Vegas is, of course, is the shows. So I'm hoping for a crossover at the MTG panel stage next year with the popular, can't believe you wrote this, with the popular scantily clad review Thunder Down Under and their new show, White Weenie.
Oh. Guys, Ruben.
Let me give you a quick behind the scenes. I know my co-hosts don't read the joke ahead of time. So sometimes I will do that.
Sometimes. Well, next year, other than a speedy recovery from our favorite piece of wood or metal having one thick end and then a tapering to a thin edge that is driven between 2 objects or parts of an object to secure or separate them, the thing
Shout out to Wedge.
that's shout out Wedge. The thing I'm most looking forward to is the very first Pauper Grand Prix, because nothing says Vegas better than having to run a budget deck because you can't afford anything else.
Whoa.
Wow.
Too real.
And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me, and thank you
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Ruben.
Thank you, and thank you to this live audience.
that.
Thank you so much for joining us here.
You guys are awesome. I thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell, Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe. It's important I mess this up. And do everything
Do it
social that
live.
tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv at Magic Mike's, on Twitter at Magic Mike's Cast, our Magic Mike's subreddit, and like the Magic Mike's page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mike's. Good night, everybody.
Official
Thank you.
M19 preview card show next
And we have
Wednesday.
tokens, so if you want tokens, come say hi.
Come say hi. We'll
Come
give you
say
some
hi. We'll be
tokens.
available.
You guys are great.
Everybody, thank
everybody.
you.